Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the history and value of Lincoln wheat penny coins, one of the most collected coins in the United States. Minted from 1919 to 1980, these pennies feature the iconic wheat ears on the reverse and have become famous for their key dates, mint errors, and collectible variations. Let's take a closer look at the wheat penny and find out which ones might be worth more than just a cent. The 1940 Lincoln wheat penny was minted at the San Francisco Mint and is part of the widely collected Lincoln cent series. This coin features the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, designed by Victor David Brenner. Above Lincoln's head is the motto "In God We Trust," with liberty to the left and the date 1940 to the right, followed by the small s mint mark beneath the date, indicating its origin at the San Francisco facility. By 1944, the U.S. Mint had returned to the traditional bronze composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc after the temporary use of steel in 1943. As a result, the 1940 penny has the warm, reddish-brown tone typical of copper coins, though with age and environmental exposure, many now exhibit deeper brown or even blackened surfaces. In this case, the coin is described as having a black shade, which suggests oxidation or toning due to exposure to moisture, air, or possibly improper storage. While this black patina can reduce a coin's aesthetic appeal for some collectors, it also serves as evidence of the coin's long history and journey through circulation. The reverse of the coin bears the classic wheat ears design, with 1 cent and United States of America centered between two stylized wheat stalks, and the Latin motto E pluribus unum above. In a circulated coin, especially one with black shading, the fine details of the wheat ears and text may be less sharp, and the surface might show light wear, small scratches, or dullness. Still, the core design remains identifiable and intact. Over 280 million 1940 Lincoln cents were produced, making this coin relatively common in terms of mintage. Even though it is not rare, it is valued by collectors as part of the World War II era issues and is often sought after for completing a set of Lincoln cents by date and mint mark. The wartime context adds historical significance, as this coin was minted during a period when materials and resources were being closely managed for the war effort. Coins from this era that have developed a blackish tone may have done so due to environmental storage conditions, such as being kept in damp locations or exposed to chemicals or pollutants. This coloring does not necessarily indicate damage, but it does affect eye appeal and, in some cases, market value. Despite that, many collectors still appreciate such pieces for their character and the story they tell. The 1940 penny, even in circulated condition with some discoloration, remains a genuine piece of American numismatic history. While its monetary value is typically modest, its appeal lies in its age, historical context, and role in one of the most iconic and widely collected U.S. coin series. The 1919 Lincoln wheat penny, struck without a mint mark, was minted at the Philadelphia Mint. This coin is part of the early Lincoln cent series that began in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse features a right-facing bust of Lincoln with the inscriptions "In God We Trust" above, liberty to the left, and the date 1919 to the right. Because there is no mint mark, this coin was struck in Philadelphia, which did not use mint marks at that time. In circulated condition, the coin shows clear evidence of having been used in everyday transactions over the decades. The high points of the design, such as Lincoln's cheekbone, jawline, and hair details, are worn smooth but remain identifiable. The fields around the portrait have likely dulled from use, and the edges of the coin may be slightly worn down. The lettering is still visible, although the finer serifs and curves may appear softer than on a coin in higher grade. On the reverse side, the coin carries the classic wheat ears design, featuring the stylized stalks of wheat curving along the left and right edges of the coin. Between them are the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America, Above these words is E pluribus unum. In circulated condition, the wheat stalks often lose some of their fine line detail, appearing flatter and more blended into the field. The lettering remains mostly readable, although it may be slightly weaker in spots depending on wear patterns. The 1919 Philadelphia Lincoln cent had a high mintage of over 390 to million, making it one of the more common issues from the early wheat penny series. Despite its age, it remains widely available to collectors, especially in lower grades. Its value in circulated condition is typically modest, though it holds historic significance as a coin that has been in use for over a century. The coin is composed of 95% copper, with the remaining 5% made up of tin and zinc, giving it a reddish-brown appearance when new. In circulated condition, this coin may now have a dull brown tone or uneven coloration due to oxidation and handling over the years. Some may show small spots, environmental stains, or dark areas of patina, which are common for copper coins of this age. This 1919 Lincoln wheat cent serves as a tangible connection to post-World War I America, having circulated during a time of major economic, political, and social change. Although not rare, it is a collectible piece due to its age and place in the iconic wheat penny series that collectors have valued for generations. The 1948 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally did not use a mint mark on its coins during this period. This coin features the classic design created by Victor David Brenner, with a right-facing portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. Surrounding Lincoln's image are the inscriptions "In God We Trust" along the upper rim, "Liberty" to the left, and the year 1948 to the right. The reverse of the coin showcases the well-known wheat ears design, which was used from 1909 to 1958. In the center are the words 1 cent and United States of America, framed on either side by two stylized wheat stalks. Above these inscriptions is the Latin phrase "E pluribus unum," which translates to "out of many, one." This particular 1948 wheat penny is noted to be in good condition, suggesting it retains legible inscriptions and identifiable design features, though it likely shows signs of circulation, such as minor wear on Lincoln's cheek, jaw, and coat, as well as slight smoothing on the wheat stalks on the reverse. Even in good condition, a coin like this typically exhibits some loss of sharpness in the finer details due to handling and age. The Philadelphia Mint produced more than 317 million of these pennies in 1948, making them relatively common. However, they remain popular among collectors, especially those assembling a complete set of Lincoln wheat cents by year and mint. The 1948 issue is especially attractive to newer collectors because of its affordability and availability. The good condition of the coin indicate it has been well preserved relative to many coins of the same era. Its surfaces may still show a nice copper tone, possibly a mix of red and brown from natural toning over time. Though it lacks the original mint luster of an uncirculated coin, it has retained its structure and design elements without excessive damage or corrosion. As with many wheat cents, the value of a 1948 Lincoln penny in good condition is generally modest, but its worth goes beyond monetary value. It represents a tangible piece of post-World War II American history. The year 1948 was a period of transition and growth in the United States, and everyday items like this penny offer a direct connection to the economic and social life of that era. Collectors value such coins for their role in telling the broader story of the Lincoln cent series and for their connection to American history. A good condition 1948 Lincoln wheat penny is a solid example of mid-20th century coinage that remains an appealing piece for both new and seasoned collectors. The 1937 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. It belongs to the classic wheat cent series, which ran from 1909 to 1958, designed by Victor David Brenner. The obverse of the coin features a profile of Abraham Lincoln facing right. Above his head appears the motto "In God We Trust," with liberty to the left and the date 1937 to the right. Because there is no mint mark, this specific piece was produced in Philadelphia, which typically did not use a mint mark during this period. In circulated condition, the coin shows signs of wear from handling and use in commerce over the decades. The highest points of Lincoln's image, especially the cheek, jawline, and hair, are usually worn down, and the overall detail on the face and coat may be softened. Despite this, the main design elements are still present and identifiable. The edges of the coin may also appear smoother, and the overall color can vary between medium brown and darker tones, depending on how the coin has aged and been stored. On the reverse side, the wheat ears design remains, featuring two stylized wheat stalks curving along each edge of the coin. The phrases 1 cent and United States of America are centrally located between the wheat ears, with the pluribus unum appearing across the top. In a circulated state, the wheat stalks often lose their fine line details and may appear flatter or more worn. However, the major text and design elements usually remain legible, even if somewhat dulled. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 309 million of the 1937 Lincoln cents, making it a relatively common date for collectors. Its availability in circulated condition makes it accessible to beginning collectors, though it still holds interest due to its age and place in American numismatic history. The composition of the coin is 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, which gives the coin a reddish-brown color when new. In circulated condition, most examples now have a more uniform brown tone, with some examples showing signs of oxidation or spotting. This coin likely spent many years in everyday use before eventually being retired from circulation. It may exhibit signs of surface contact, small nicks, or minor discoloration. Despite these characteristics, it remains a collectible artifact of the early 20th century and a representation of one of the longest-running U.S. coin designs. The 1937 Lincoln wheat penny is often kept by collectors as part of a full date and mint mark set of the series. Although its individual value in worn condition is low, typically ranging from a few cents to perhaps $1 depending on eye appeal and specific condition, it serves as an essential part of any complete wheat cent collection. The 1945 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark was minted in Philadelphia, which at the time did not use a mint mark on its coins. This penny is part of the Lincoln wheat cent series, which was issued from 1909 to 1958 and designed by Victor David Brenner. The obverse features a portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right, with the inscriptions "In God We Trust" at the top, "Liberty" on the left side, and the date 1945 on the right. On the reverse, the coin displays the words 1 cent and United States of America in the center, flanked by two stylized wheat ears on either side. Above these is the motto "E pluribus unum," a Latin phrase meaning "out of many, one." This classic wheat design was a mainstay in American coinage for nearly 5 decades and remains iconic among collectors. The coin is noted to be in circulated condition with visible dots. Circulated condition means the coin has passed through many hands over time, resulting in surface wear, loss of original luster, and possible dullness in fine details like Lincoln's hair and beard or the individual kernels of wheat on the reverse. The presence of dots may indicate minor pitting or environmental marks caused by exposure to moisture, dirt, or other elements. These blemishes do not typically affect the basic recognizability of the design, but may influence the coin's overall aesthetic and grade. Despite the wear, this penny still holds historical value. Over 1 billion 1945 Lincoln wheat pennies were produced in Philadelphia, making them one of the more common issues from the wheat cent era. Their abundance makes them an accessible starting point for collectors, especially those interested in coins from the World War II and immediate post-war years. The year 1945 marked the end of the war, and coins from that time are often collected for their historical context as well as their design. Although its monetary value in circulated condition is generally low, the coin's historical significance can't be overlooked. It serves as a piece of everyday American life from over 70 years ago, reflecting both the economic environment and the production capacity of the U.S. Mint during a time of global conflict and change. The surfaces of this 1945 wheat penny may show a blend of brown and darker tones from oxidation and age. While some coins from this era have retained some of their red copper color, circulated examples like this one often exhibit more muted shades. Depending on the extent of the dots or marks, the coin could still be desirable to collectors who value completeness over condition or are building a set that includes all Lincoln wheat cents by date and mint. Overall, the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny, without a mint mark, even in circulated condition with minor blemishes, is a collectible piece that represents a significant period in U.S. history. Its affordability, iconic design, and link to the World War II era make it a coin worth including in any basic numismatic collection. The 1971 Washington quarter, with that little D mint mark under the date, that D stands for Denver. And yes, this coin right here, it's not shiny. It's not flashy, it's circulated. It's what we'd call good condition, maybe even a little too humble, and yet, this quiet little coin has a secret so big, most people wouldn't believe it even if they saw the price tag. Let's take a closer look. In 1971, the U.S. Mint was pumping out quarters by the millions, tens of millions. In fact, the country was in the middle of massive change. The Vietnam War was still raging. Gas was 40 cents a gallon and the mint, it was moving fast. Too fast. Because in that speed, a few wild mistakes slipped through the cracks, and those mistakes are now worth serious money. Let's start with a strange little fact that makes this coin stand out. By 1971, silver had been completely removed from quarters. Or at least it was supposed to be. From 1965 onward, U.S. quarters were struck using a copper-nickel-clad composition, no more precious metal. But every now and then, something unbelievable happens. A small number of 1971 D quarters were mistakenly struck on leftover 40% silver plankets, the same metal that was supposed to be reserved for Kennedy half dollars. You'd never guess it by looking, but the weight, the sound, and the color, they tell a different story. And these accidental silver strikes, they are worth a fortune. One of these silver planchet 1971 D quarters, verified, authenticated, and sold, brought in a shocking $45,000 at auction. That's right, a quarter struck on the wrong metal. From 1971, $45,000. And here's where things get even more exciting. There are other errors that collectors hunt down like treasure, double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes where the rim didn't form properly. All of these happened more frequently in the early 70s, when minting technology was still evolving, and especially during high production years like 1971. One double die error, where the date and lettering appear slightly doubled, has fetched upwards of $7,500, even with some wear and tear. Another off-center error from 1971 D sold for $3,300, and that was with clear signs of circulation. Now, what if your 1971 D quarter doesn't have an error? What if it's just a regular old coin? Well, even then, collectors are on the lookout for high-grade examples of this exact year and mint mark. Because again, this was a year without mint sets for the general public. Which means most of the coins available were used, spent, tossed into jars, just like this one. A 1971 D Washington quarter graded MS67, almost flawless, sold for a stunning $6,463, nearly $6,500 for one coin. No silver, no error, just near perfection, and who's got those coins now? Most likely people just like you, folks who pulled them from drawers, old piggy banks, maybe even a forgotten roll, stashed away for decades. So let me ask you this. What would you do if the quarter in your hand, this exact 1971 D, was actually made of silver? Would you notice it? Would you feel the difference in weight? Or would you spend it without ever knowing? Because right now, that's exactly What's happening? Rare era coins from this year are slipping through the cracks at garage sales, coin machines, even eBay listings from people who have no idea what they're holding. The 1971 D quarter, once worth just 25 cents, might now be worth $45,000 or more. And that's not hype, that's not myth, that's real, cold hard cash handed over by collectors who know what to look for. So the next time you come across one of these older quarters, take a moment, look at the date. Check the mint mark, tilt it under the light. Listen to the sound when you drop it, that faint silver ring. Could be music to your bank account. 1969 Washington quarter, no mint mark, average wear and tear, good condition. You've probably handled one just like it 100 times. Maybe you even spent one at a gas station without a second thought. But here's where things get interesting. And I mean jaw-dropping. Stop what you're doing interesting. This particular quarter, minted in 1969, carries a hidden story, a story that can lead to unbelievable value. And I'm not just talking about a few bucks. I'm talking life-changing amounts of money. Now, before we get to those shocking numbers, let's unpack what makes this coin so special, and why collectors are practically obsessed with finding the right one. First, the basics. The 1969 Washington quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is why it has no mint mark. That's actually normal for Philadelphia coins of the era. It features the familiar portrait of George Washington on the front, designed by John Flanagan, a design that's been on our quarters since 1932, the words "Liberty" above, "In God We Trust" on the side, and the date, 1969, clearly stamped below Washington's neck. Now take a closer look at this one. It's been circulated, that means it's done its job. It's passed through hands, sat in vending machines, maybe even traveled across states in a trucker's pocket. The details are still visible, but the high points of the design, Washington's cheekbone, the eagle's feathers on the reverse, show noticeable wear. It's what we call good condition in the numismatic world. Not poor, not great, but definitely circulated. So how can something this worn possibly be worth anything beyond 25 cents? Here's where things take a sharp turn, because in the coin collecting world, condition is only one piece of the puzzle. The real fireworks start when we start talking about errors and rarity, and guess what? The 1969 quarter has one of the most mysterious and exciting stories of any modern coin. Let's talk about one specific type, the double die obverse. It's rare, extremely rare, but if you've got one, oh, hold on tight, this error happens when the die that strikes the front of the coin has been misaligned, causing a doubled image. You'll see this most clearly on the date -1969 and in the lettering, especially the word Liberty. It looks like a shadow. But it's no accident, and for collectors, that doubling is like a flashing neon sign saying, jackpot. Now, here's the moment you've been waiting for. One of these 1969 quarters, with the double die obverse, no mint mark, in sharp uncirculated condition, sold at auction for over $350,000. Yes, you heard that right. A quarter, a 25-cent coin, worth more than a luxury car, more than a college education, more than many homes, and even in circulated condition, just like the one you're seeing here. If it has that double die, it could still fetch tens of thousands. We're talking $15,000 to $30,000 even with wear. That's how hungry the market is for this exact variation. Now, I want you to imagine for a second a box of old coins. Maybe in your attic, maybe in a relative's drawer. A dusty pile you haven't looked through in decades, and inside one of these seemingly normal quarters. Maybe even a little dirt on it, but with the right error, hiding in plain sight, it could unlock a fortune. And here's the kicker. Only a small number of these have ever been found, which means the rest, they're still out there. Maybe in your pocket, maybe in your couch, maybe already in your hand. So the next time you're flipping through your change jar, don't just look closely, Tilt the coin under the light. Look for that subtle doubling in the date, that shadow effect in Liberty, because if you spot it, well, you might just be holding a six-figure treasure, and if your coin doesn't have that rare doubling, but it's still a 1969 with no mint mark in excellent shape, even then, collectors will pay. A crisp, uncirculated 1969 quarter without the error has sold for over $3,500 depending on grade and eye appeal. These coins are rising in demand, especially among baby boomers and seasoned collectors chasing full sets. So don't toss it aside just because it's only worth a few grand. That could still be one of the most valuable pieces in your entire house. The 1969 Washington quarter. No mint mark, once worth 25 cents. Today, worth talking about, worth hunting for, and maybe, just maybe, worth more than you ever imagined. A 1990 Washington quarter. P-mint mark, it's not sparkling, it's not perfect. It's seen some years pass through some hands. We'd call this good condition, meaning it's circulated, slightly worn, but all the major design features are still there. Probably looks just like the ones in your kitchen drawer right now. No one ever gives it a second thought, but maybe they should, because this 1990p quarter has a hidden side to it. A side that's quietly made collectors across the country do a double take and in some cases, hand over tens of thousands of dollars to own the right one. Yes, we're still talking about a single quarter. 25 cents worth more than a brand new car. If the stars align. So why does this year matter? Why 1990? Well, first, let's talk about what you see and what you don't. The P-mint mark under Washington's neck shows it was struck in Philadelphia. No big deal there, millions of these were made. The front of the coin still carries the original Flanagan design, the bold profile of George Washington. On the reverse, the eagle spread wide, talons gripping arrows, wings reaching the rim. So far, nothing unusual, or so it seems. But now comes the twist. In the early 1990s, the US Mint was experimenting with some of its coin presses and planchette supplies. And in that process, a few coins were struck with the wrong metal. Some 1990 quarters were accidentally struck on planchettes meant for dimes. That means a 25-cent coin was made on a 10-cent blank. Thinner, lighter, and just slightly smaller. And that, my friend, turned it from ordinary to extraordinary. Let me hit you with this. A 1990p quarter struck on a dime planchette sold for a shocking $16,450 at auction. That's not a typo, one coin, wrong metal. Over $16,000. And it doesn't stop there. Other errors from this year include off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned, leaving part of the coin blank. Those can fetch $1,000 to $3,000, even in circulated condition. Another error, clipped planchettes, where part of the coin is literally missing, like someone took a bite out of it. These are caused when a metal strip fails during minting. A 1990p with a large curved clip recently sold for over $2,200, and that one had visible were just like this one. Now let's say your 1990p quarter doesn't have any wild errors. Is it still worth checking? Absolutely, because here's what collectors are chasing right now: full strike, full luster coins in high grade from this year. And since most were used in circulation, good, clean examples are rare. One 1990p Washington quarter graded MS67 Plus by PCGS sold for over $4,800. That's nearly $5 grand. For a quarter most people wouldn't look at twice. And again, here's the most unbelievable part. These coins are hiding in plain sight. Circulated versions are everywhere. But that one slight difference, the planchette, the strike, the alignment, that's what separates a 25-cent coin from one worth the price of a vacation. Or more. So don't let a coin scratches fool you. Just because it's been around doesn't mean it's worthless. On the contrary, that good condition quarter in your hand? It could be part of a rare batch, one with a minting flaw. One that never should have made it past inspection, the 1990p Washington quarter is a modern mystery. A coin that plays it cool until you realize its true value. And if you find the right one with a flaw, a shift, a planchette that's just slightly off, you might be looking at a 5-figure windfall. And if you think that's wild, wait until you see the next coin. It's from a common year with one terrifyingly small mistake, and it's sold for enough to pay off someone's. Take a look at this coin. It's nothing to write home about. In fact, it's got scratches, it's worn. It looks like it's been through pockets, purses, maybe even the laundry a few times. It's a 1983 Washington quarter with a payment mark from Philadelphia. Average condition, just another quarter, right? Well, not exactly. Because what if I told you that this particular year, this exact mint, hides one of the biggest secrets in the world of modern US coin collecting? This isn't just a coin, it's a survivor. Let me explain. The year 1983 might not seem all that special. No big historical event tied to this quarter, no dramatic design changes. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. The US Mint did not release uncirculated mint sets in 1982 or 1983. That means there are almost no pristine examples of these coins that were never used. So what does that mean for this scratched up 1983p quarter you're seeing now? It means that even average condition examples are rare in high-grade form. Because if you wanted a shiny, uncirculated 1983p quarter straight from the mint, you were out of luck. The only ones available were the ones that got used, handled, scratched, just like this one. Collectors go absolutely wild for high-quality 1983 quarters because they're nearly impossible to find. But that's only the beginning of the story, because in 1983, something else happened, something the mint didn't catch. A small number of quarters left the Philadelphia Mint with a strange, almost eerie flaw. A missing feature, a silent error that boosts value into the tens of thousands of dollars. Or more. It's called the spitting eagle variety. Sounds dramatic. Right, and it is. On the reverse of the coin, look closely at the eagle's beak. On this rare error version, there's a strange raised line extending from the eagle's mouth. Like it's spitting, it's caused by a die crack, a tiny fracture in the metal die that struck the coin. But what makes it exciting is that collectors can't get enough of this variety. It's bizarre, it's specific, and it only happens in a handful of 1983p quarters. These coins, even in circulated condition, can go for over $600 to $2,000, depending on the clarity of the crack. Now, remember what I said earlier? No mint sets. That means that if you find a 1983p quarter that's not scratched to pieces, one with full luster, sharp details, and no signs of wear, you've just hit a massive jackpot. In fact, a single 1983p Washington quarter, graded in MS67 by PCGS, nearly perfect, sold at auction for an eye-popping $15,000. Yes, $15,000. For a coin that looks just like the one sitting in your Q folder right now. Minus a few scratches, but wait, it doesn't stop there, because a rare error version of the 1983p, featuring that spitting eagle crack and struck on the wrong planchette, meaning the wrong type of metal blank, has sold for more than $35,000. That's more than the price of a brand new SUV for one quarter. From 1983, and what makes this so much more shocking is how many people overlook it. They see the scratches, the age, the wear, and they toss it back in the change jar. But seasoned collectors, they're hunting for these like gold. So the next time you see one of these, don't blink, even if it's a little beat up. Even if it looks like it's been around the block a few too many times. Because that small P under Washington's neck, that 1983 date, and that eagle on the back could be hiding a silent, powerful value most people completely miss. The 1983p Washington quarter, worn, scratched, but rare beyond belief. And if you find the right one, you just might be looking at $15,000, $25,000, $50,000 or even $35,000, all for something most folks would spend without thinking twice. And coming up next, we've got a coin that looks even rougher, but might just be worth enough to retire early. You're not going to believe this one. A 1980 Washington quarter, minted in Philadelphia. You can tell by that small P under the date. It's worn, circulated, nothing shiny, nothing fancy. Probably the kind of coin you've spent on a morning coffee and never thought about again. But let me tell you something that just might change the way you look at your change forever, because this unassuming little coin, it's part of a series that has shocked collectors time and time again. With prices climbing into the 5-figure range, and in one case, a jaw-dropping 6-figure. You heard that right. A Washington quarter from 1980, worth over $100,000. Let's dig in. First, the basics. The 1980p Washington quarter was part of a massive mintage. Over 635 million were struck that year. That's more than double the population of the United States at the time. So how could a coin this common possibly be worth anything? Here's the secret. It's not about how many were made. It's about what went wrong, and in 1980, something went very wrong in a way that has collectors buzzing to this day. Some 1980p quarters were accidentally struck on foreign blankets, blanks that were meant for coins from other countries. Imagine this, a US quarter, minted on metal meant for a coin from Bermuda or the Philippines. These errors are extremely rare, nearly impossible to spot unless you know what to look for. And when you do find one, the value skyrockets. One of these foreign plancha 1980p quarters sold for $27,600. That's $27,000 for a single coin that still looked pretty normal to the untrained eye. It was slightly lighter in weight, slightly off in color, but it passed through unnoticed until a collector realized what it was. But wait, there's more, another known error. Double strikes, where the coin was hit by the minting press not once, but twice, shifting the design and doubling the lettering. Or profile, a 1980p quarter with a clean double strike recently sold for $12,500. These are dramatic, noticeable, and incredibly collectible, and even if you don't have an error. A regular 1980p quarter in high grade, we're talking MS67 or better, with no marks, full luster, razor-sharp details, can bring in big money. Why? Because despite how many were made, almost none were saved in mint condition. They went straight into circulation, just like this one, the highest grade 1980p quarter ever sold by PCGS. It hit the auction block for $6,463. That's over $6,000 for a coin that, on the surface, looks no different than the one in your pocket right now. But let me tell you about the real shocker. A unique off-metal error 1980p quarter, struck on a US cent planchet. That's a copper-colored penny blank, sold for more than $100,000 at private sale. That's a quarter made on a penny, wrong metal, wrong weight, wrong everything. But to collectors, that makes it a masterpiece. A 1 in a million mistake. And here's the kicker, most people who've owned these coins had no idea they were sitting in jars, coin rolls, old drawers, passed around from person to person like they were nothing until someone took a closer look. Someone like you. So here's what to watch for. Check the color. If your 1980 quarter is the wrong shade of gray or has a copper tint, it could be struck on the wrong planchet. Check the weight. A normal quarter weighs 5.67 grams. If yours is under or over, it could be an error. Check the edges. If the reeded edge is missing or uneven, it might be an off-center strike or minting misalignment. And finally, check the sound. Drop it on a table next to another quarter. If the pitch is different, your coin might be hiding something. The 1980p Washington quarter is a classic example of modern rarity hiding in plain sight. It's circulated, it's common, and yet, one tiny flaw could make it worth $25,000, $50,000, or even more. And it could be sitting in your change jar right now.